Hello everyone, it's Monique Heusler. I'm here to talk to you today about interprofessional collaboration. Here is my first slide about interprofessional collaboration. As you can see, my credentials, and it's for Roberts Wesleyan College. Let me move that camera here. Hang on a second. Sorry. The interprofessional collaboration is a unified, continuous, reliable healthcare. As you can see, it's centered around the patient. It has a whole bunch of different professionals involved: emergency room physicians, hospitalist, social worker, nurse practitioner, the command center nurse navigator, a mobile nurse, a pharmacist. You also can have um, physical therapist and nutritionist, any other person that can help take care of the patient is needed, can be needed as well. These people are very important in taking care of a patient, whether they're in the hospital, whether they're at home. Um, Usually they start in the hospital because that's where most of us are taking care of our patients right away. And then they go outside the hospital when they go home, or they go to a nursing home or wherever. But as we continue to follow our patients, we want to make sure that we are taking the very best care of our patient. And some of these people work outside the hospitals to help take care of our patients. The pharmacists especially can be inside or outside the hospital to ensure that our patients are getting the proper medications that they need, and that they're not becoming polypharmacists, so we aren't getting the medications aren't being duplicated, and they're not taking too many medications. There are three main concerns for healthcare. As you can see, the first one here is communication. Effective team members need to have open communication that can provide positive, productive relationships. Um, Open communication is definitely necessary for any type of collaboration when it comes to, especially when it comes to healthcare. We need to ensure that all of our team members are open and communicating properly with each other, that they understand each other, and that they are listening to each other. And that's key as well. Not only talking, but listening to each other. We want to ensure that our patients are getting the best possible care, and in order to receive that care, all of our team members are talking to each other and listening to each other. So that open communication is definitely necessary in each and every patient. We're going to go move this again. So once again, we're in the way. There is a power concern when it comes to healthcare sometimes, who is in charge, whether it's a primary care doctor or the hospitalist. That power struggle can be very hard to deal with sometimes. And in taking care of that, you need to ensure that the communication that sets that tone, you want to make sure that the power struggle is not being that power struggle is not there. So in this case, when the patient is in the hospital, the hospitalist would be taking care of the patient. The primary care doctor would relinquish that so-called power, and therefore the hospitalist would be taking care of the patient. Now, that being said, I would suggest that the nurse ensure that the hospitalist understands that the doctor has been taking care of this patient for however many years and knows this patient very well, and the medications that they're on usually are working, and therefore they should probably stay on those primary care doctors' regimens of medications. Also, you want to ensure that the hospitalist understands that most hospitalists do this, that they ensure that they see their hospitalist after they are discharged from the hospital. I'm sorry, they want to see their primary care doctor after they are discharged from the hospital. And most hospitalists do ensure that they do go follow up with their primary care doctor, or a specialist as well. Once again, if they're seeing a neurologist on a regular basis, or a GI doctor on a regular basis, and they're here for something like that, they're here for a migraine, or they're here for a GI issue, you want to make sure that they're following up with those doctors, and the hospitalists are usually pretty good about setting up those appointments. The other healthcare concern is patient involvement. A lot of our patients do not feel that they're involved in their care, and this is a major concern, along with their families being involved. So you want to make sure that the patients are involved in their care. You can't just go in and tell them what's going to happen and then walk out of the room. You want to involve them with their care. Tell them what you think is going on, and ask them if they're okay with the testing that you're going to do, with the medications that you're going to give them, inform them that, hey, I have to do an exam on you. Are you okay with me doing this? The more you keep them involved, the less frightened they're going to be, the more cooperative they're going to be, the more understanding they're going to be, the longer they're going to be there. Sometimes they are going to be there for a while, and the more you involve them with their care, the more they understand that you're there to take care of them, and that helps a lot in helping them understand why they're there, and that we're really there just to help them. My evidence-based project is a self-management program for the chronic pain patient. This program is basically to help the chronic pain patient develop, the nurse is going to develop this self-management plan to basically help the chronic pain patient to understand their pain, to get it more under control, so they're not being confined to the home, or confined to a hospital, or basically living off medications for the rest of their life. The nurse wants to help this patient to understand their pain, to help them understand that they can live with it, that they can make a better life with it, and we want them to live a healthier and happier life as much as possible. That is basically the thing with it, to get them to understand that they have control over their pain, they have control over their life. The interprofessional team, as you can see, is listed here. Starts with the emergency room doctors. They have the hospitalists, case managers, physical therapists, occupational therapists. You have primary care physicians, and you have the nurses. The nurses, as you can see, their nurse-patient relationships positively influence physical, emotional, and functional well-being of our patients. We are at the bedside. Most nurses are there 12 hours a day, 3 or 4 days a week, and that makes a huge difference to our patients. That in and of itself is the leading role in this evidence-based change. Since we are there so much, we are the ones making a lead, taking the lead in this evidence-based change. We are the ones making sure that our patients are understanding that they have control over this pain. They can make that choice to not take that pain medication. They can make that choice to get out of bed. They can make that choice to use something else, say a TENS unit, or, different types of therapy, or, heat therapy, or, physical therapy is needed, or, just a light touch massage sometimes helps even. Yoga might help, something else other than just pain medication, just to get them moving a little bit better, to help them understand their pain a little bit more. Sometimes just talking to release their anxiety might actually help bring their pain down a little bit better. Excuse me. Collaboration strategies. Nurse needs to establish good relationships, and this not only is with the patients as well, but this is also with the provider teams as well, the physical therapists and the doctors and excuse me, the doctors as well. So once the nurse establishes those good relationships, it helps with trust. Open communications helps with collaboration strategies. Once we have those open communications, that establishes respect. The discussions about what is best for the patients, and of course you always want to include your patient and their family members if they're involved with the collaboration and what they're going to do with this program and what's going to help them in their program. Communication is always a huge thing when it comes to, especially with pain. A lot of people want to talk about what caused their pain, what's going to help them with their pain. Some people don't like taking pain medication, some people do, but some people just want you to listen to them. Sometimes it's just that active listening, saying, yes, I understand, or I hear you. What can I do for you? Is there anything else I can do for you? That active listening sometimes helps more than just that pain medication. And sometimes that is more important than just giving them a pain pill. The communication strategies as needed, that only helps with that, not only helps with patients, but it helps with providers as well. It helps with everybody involved in that patient care team. As you can see throughout this whole thing, communication obviously is a huge thing. You want to make sure that you're communicating not only with the providers needed, but with the patients as well. You want to make sure that you are having respect for everyone. Open communication leads to respect. Trust is a huge thing as well. So that's good. Ensuring that your patient is well taken care of. You want to make sure that your patient is involved in their care. If their patient is not involved in their care, it makes it difficult for the patient to respect you. It makes it difficult for the patient to trust you. So if the patient's involved in their care, that makes a huge difference as well. Interprofessional collaboration and communication helps to improve the quality and safety in patient care in everything that we do. When we involve patients, when we involve communication, when we involve collaboration between every aspect of what is involved in our patients, it makes it easier to take care of our patients. And this is my references. Thank you very much.